Halima Mela is currently an associate with Northern Reflections as a retail assistant. She was born in Nigeria and has a law degree from Ahmadu Bello University in Nigeria, a bachelor in international studies from the University of Saskatchewan in Canada, and a master's in human resources management from the University of South Wales in Wales, United Kingdom. She's an advocate for diversity and inclusion, which she sees in all areas of life. A passion that started to develop when she took a class in race relations and she began paying close attention to the stories about discrimination she came across. As a former retail associate, she advocates for changes in the store to make the store truly inclusive. A dedicated and passionate believer in being an uplifter and always works on assisting others, especially newcomers, to find their footing with access to services to assess settling into the Canadian society. She's also finding her voice in speaking to immigrants about healthcare access, especially in mental health from a patient perspective. She's currently serving as a board member in My Humanitas, a Filipino non-profit organization reflective of her belief in diversity. She also finds time to serve in her church, as faith has played an important role and shaped how she addresses issues of diversity and inclusion. She's also currently pursuing certification as a HR professional after taking time off work to raise her family while setting up and managing a clinic. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Immigrant Journey. Today we have another very interesting guest and I cannot wait for you guys to hear the story. So, hi Onyi, what are you excited about for this one?
I am excited to hear the experiences of our guests today, especially because I came to Canada just 5 years ago, but the guest we have today has been in Canada for almost the beginning of Canada. So
Okay.
I really want to hear comparison between what life was back then and currently. Maybe that would help me become a little bit more appreciative and less complaining.
Okay.
But yeah, let's jump right in.
Okay.
Welcome to the show, Halima. We're happy to
Thank
have
you.
you here today.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's jump right in.
Okay.
How would you describe your immigration and settlement journey so far in Canada?
Okay. Where do I start from?
The very beginning. Go back all the way.
Go back all the way. I don't know if this is even where to even start the story of flying in the plane to come here. January.
How many
my
years
God.
ago? 23 years ago.
Wow.
Oh.
Mhm. So January 23 years ago, I'm flying in.
To Saskatchewan. I just said
as
January,
in, okay, I'm flying in and plane is, we are getting to the ferry. And the pilot, how they make the announcement of, okay, we're starting our approach to Saskatoon. Current weather is minus 33. I tapped the guy on my side. I said, what is minus 33? He tried to describe it to me. Kept quiet. And then, pilot now adds more to this immigrant anxiety by saying, weather conditions should be clear. We just had a blizzard.
What is a blizzard?
Exactly.
Next question.
That was the next question. I was like, sorry, do you mind if I ask another question? What is a blizzard? So he's looking at me and said, is this your first time here? I said, yes. I'm sure in his mind he was like, wow, what a time to visit, right?
Yeah.
So, he's like, yeah, we had it. It's like a snowstorm. It's a lot of snow. And I'm a pretty tall guy. So, it's going to reach me here. So I'm like, if it's
that's
reaching
scary.
the man on the knee, it will
It
swallow
will
me.
cover you up.
Oh my God.
That shock of what was I getting myself into was just the beginning of the shock of the, immigration and settlement. I survived 23 years later. I have not died. I have not frozen. Maybe a few times, but my digits are
You're
still
still intact.
intact. 10 fingers, 10 toes, nothing's burnt. So thank you, Lord. I haven't frozen. You've had a few instances of starting your car because you forgot to plug in.
Oh my God.
And, then it was like, oh, wow, okay, that's interesting. Yeah. But I think, overall, I don't know if you go anywhere and there is no challenges. And at this point, it's your mindset where are you going to take on the challenges or are you going to let the challenges get you down? And sometimes it will pull you down, sometimes it will, but even when it's pulling you down, what's your mindset at that point? Because is the journey still smooth till today? Honestly, it just seems every decade or whatever, there are just new challenges that present themselves to you as an immigrant. So it's a never-ending journey, but it's a journey that makes you evolve. If that makes sense, it makes you evolve, and thankfully, most of the evolution that I've seen is an evolution of a never give up attitude and mentality. So that's been great. So I think that's how pretty much describe my journey and settlement. I don't know if I feel like settled
After
because I'm
23
always
years?
honestly, okay, I'll tell you why. Full disclosure, everybody, and I want the world to know, because there's no shame. I don't know if I'm settled because my brain will not let me do one thing and stick to it because of a sneaky thing called ADHD. It's a gift by the way.
Okay.
But sometimes it's just you start something and it's just not for you. So you have to drop it. Otherwise, if I continue doing that, first off, it's frustrating that my brain is always running. It does not slow down. And then I'm doing something I don't like. I will be frustrated.
True.
So I'm happy that I start it, see how it's like, and I can drop it quickly and not going for you're like, oh no, this is not for me.
I feel like you're already dropping gems and we're not even 10 minutes in.
We haven't
So
even
let me
started yet.
take you a bit back.
Okay.
Take you back a bit to talk about 23 years ago. Like when we started, Oyin said she had been here 5 years.
5 years.
Okay.
I have been here 7 years. And when I came, I thought it was hard. I thought, oh my God, how do people survive here and things like that? Like it doesn't get harder than this. When I sit down here and listen to you talk about 23 years, that's like almost double our combined experience.
Yeah.
What was it like then? Can you paint a picture of what Saskatoon was 23 years ago compared to what you're seeing now?
Okay. I will start with where my house is in Briarwood. You've been to my house?
Yes.
Okay. Try to picture my house, and I'm standing in front of my house and looking at Highway 16. That highway there, you could see it.
Wow.
Oh, empty
Because
land.
this was empty land. That's one. You're walking around. Honestly, I was looking for the next black person. I did not care where they were from. I was just looking for the next black person. Because let's be honest, it was pretty white. It
And
was
we're not referring to snow, just in case
Yeah.
you're confused.
We're talking about skin color.
So I was always looking for the next black person because I just needed to see somebody I could relate to. Above all, I think he was also trying to find somebody that, if this is what I want to do, can I find someone who looks like me that will be there to support me? Because that person will understand some of the frustrations and challenges that I would be, going through. So those were my memories, my early memories, because it was just, we were just coming, we were starting a lot of things, and so there wasn't, I would say there was nothing, but what we have today, we just didn't have it back then, 22 years ago. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So everything I've heard you say is that, number one, diversity has changed.
It has changed.
The demographic is a lot more diverse
Yes,
now.
yes.
Would you say that's good? Like, so I'm thinking, listening to you, how everybody would come together and shop from whatever country
Yes.
you're buying African
Yeah, so
food
it's
from.
easy to build
The
community.
Yes.
would have
Yes.
been better.
Oh yes. Not only that, we, because of the need to, be together and support each other, I still remember there was a prayer group we had, and I missed that. It was a Friday a month, like one Friday in a month, and we rotated homes, and I remember other Africans hearing, and they were coming. It was in that prayer group that I actually first met Betty Mutwiri.
Oh.
It was in that, because of that prayer group, I first met Betty Mutwiri. Who else again?
Sorry, just to provide some context. For those of you who are listening, those of you who are watching.
That was how I got to know people, right? And because a lot of them, back then were students, somehow it was just, honestly, I'll put it this way, no shade, new people, but let me just say it as well. There was no competition. Because we knew
with your chest, take your shit.
But no, okay, like not in that way, but
absolutely.
It was we knew we needed each other.
Support,
We needed the support.
It wasn't, I want to be better than you, I want to buy a bigger house, I want to earn more money than you. It was, we need each other to survive.
Go to people that, of course, they were students and living in basements, but nobody saw that. Nobody saw that. One of my favorite was when I had my oldest son. My mom was denied a visa, because this was back then we're talking about. The support I got from the community here, I will never ever forget, because there was never a day that I was lonely. Sometimes, like, oh God, I feel tired, and then somebody just calls and they're like, hey Halima, I'm off today, I'm coming down, I'll spend some time with you. Do you need anything? They do the shopping, they come, they clean, like just go. Of course they were not sleeping there, but you know what? The fact that somebody took time.
You were not alone.
Yes, I was not alone. They took time to come. Sometimes they will even call and say, don't worry, Uncle Mansfield is not around. I'll wait till he comes back from work before I leave her. That made a big difference for me. And I think this is where I was able to grow those relationships in a deeper way with so many of those people.
So if I take you back, coming to Canada, there must have been a reason why you chose to come to Canada, and the expectation you had coming to Canada. So how does the reality you met in Canada, how does it compare with the expectation you had? Would you say that it was below your expectation, above your expectation?
Said nobody ever. Just saying.
Above your expectation.
I said it.
Don't say that. Let us speak.
Just
I was like, what's it about doing in this country?
You know what? I think there will be moments, definitely till today, that I will still say, what was I thinking?
Till today?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, because life is evolving.
True.
So, So I still have some moments where that thing hits me. Maybe sometimes it's me directly, maybe sometimes it's indirectly, because I've seen it happen to somebody. And you're like, is this still a thing in 2023? Come on, we can do better. But, in terms of expectations, so what made us move was we were in UK. And at that time, in HR, we talk of glass ceilings, right? So this is glass ceiling that you definitely can see, especially as an immigrant, which we're still having conversations today. I just came from UK. They are talking of you must have £36,000. In other words, if you come and you're nothing, forget it. But we could see the glass ceiling. My husband at that time did not feel that he'd be able to progress to what he wants to do
in the UK.
In the UK, of course, it was close home, so it was those decisions we had to weigh. Because moving here, UK, sometimes you get up Friday, I'm bored.
I'm going to Nigeria on Sunday.
Sunday?
Oh, Saturday.
You go to the airport, go to the desk. The flights to Abuja, is it full? No, give me a ticket. Saturday morning you are landed. You wait Monday, you call, you say, no, I'm off on Monday. You come back, catch your flight 9 a.m. By 4 you are back in UK. Life is good. And now here you have to really think twice before you do. So there was a lot of all of those decisions, but then for economic reasons, for him, this was definitely a good move for him, because the work he has been able to do here and the just groundbreaking work has been amazing, that even his colleagues in UK obviously know what he does, but the system would not have allowed him to do that, So it was mostly economic that made us to move here. Definitely for him coming here, and because he had a British fellowship, it made it slightly easier for him to come here, and he didn't have to go through so many hurdles that I see a lot of our immigrant doctors being put through now. So it was slightly different, but that's not to say he did not have some of those
So just to create a little more clarity for when we said earlier that not a lot of people say life in Canada is above their expectation. We're talking about initially, like what that initial shocker is when you come here, because the impression that people have, like when you look at what the IRCC is asking for, we're looking for like the best of the best in every country, and then you come here and the employer say, "Oh my God, who told you you are who?
You are the best.
You are the best. You are who? You know." So that disconnect between the IRCC and Canadian employers. It still exists till today. So that's what I meant when I said above expectations, said nobody ever. I'm yet to meet anybody who came and it has been consistently above the expectation. So I thought to provide some context there before you people drag me into my head. Thank you.
And that is, and you know what, that is actually very true. Like you can count on your hand the number of people that came here and were able to get into their fields. The rest of us, and at the time we came, the best pathway for us, honestly, was, honey, get your behind back to school and start your life all over again. Go back to school.
So he actually went back to school?
No, he did not. Luckily, because he had a British fellowship.
Okay.
So that was what allowed him to get the job here. And go back to school.
I came 7 years ago and I went back to school.
So when I came to, that was the first advice I got. Apparently because that was the thing.
That was the thing.
I had actually applied to go to school, and luckily before I was to resume, I got a job in my profession.
Yes.
So I had to stop the school.
Yeah.
So I totally understand that.
Because that was the best way back then of, going to school, and especially if you did a program where you were able to maybe, do a co-op or, just something like that to get your leg in. Or, like when you're in school, you establish rapport with your professors. So they are the ones that, would say, hey, I've seen this position. I think it would be a great fit for you. And, they help you to apply, and that's if you meet the nice ones. Not the ones that tell you that, because you misspelled a word, that means you can't speak English.
Yeah.
Because
of your accent.
I am rolling my eyes. For those of you who are listening, I'm rolling my eyes at this point.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
When you talk of that accent thing, I still remember one of my classes. Class was rather snotty. Professor was looking at not having it, and there were two of us that they were doing it too. So myself being originally Nigerian and another one from Kazakhstan. So having a very strong Russian-ish accent, because Kazakhstan was the former Russian Republic. So one day, after a while and the prof had it, I remember this was what she said. The class should remember this is a seminar class, so you're going to be graded on what your classmates say in class. And if I, as the professor, can understand, I will expect to see reflection in your final take-home exam. Suddenly, everybody could understand our accent, so suddenly,
Imagine.
Till today, I'm like, that was one person that
put them in their place.
She put them in their place, and it was, these people speak with accents, so what?
Everybody has an accent.
We survived it.
Another theme there, power of allyship. Just being the one to stand up. If you're in the position of power where you are, use your voice for something good.
Use it for something good. Lift those that you can see are being stepped on. Because why do you have to step on people like
in the first
place? Exactly. Everybody has something that they're going to bring to the table. Exactly. So why don't you see who they are, look at what they're bringing to the table?
Absolutely. Okay, so now when I look at all of this experience, like you have such rich experiences in different areas, what would you say, how would you say that experience has influenced the kind of work that you have done, the causes that you support, like the things that make your heart beat? How does that experience, or the experience that you have gathered over the last 23 years, how does it fit into all of this?
But it's what I learned or did not get, but I was able to get. That's what I take to use to support others. And that is why, like anything that has to do with, settlements with immigrants or anything, I am all in. Because, okay, when we look at numbers, statistics, in a very unfair way, you look at people that are in the criminal justice system behind bars, and you see a disproportionate representation, whether it's indigenous, and now we're beginning to see visible minorities. When you don't give people an opportunity to do something, what do you leave them with? And then, you keep not wanting to give them opportunities. I'm not saying that, people should go into crime, but you're not giving people opportunities. You keep pushing them, you keep triggering them. And then the person has had it and just, like, I'm not taking this anymore. Then you now go and report that person is aggressive. How about you saying, I wish you go to report and say he's aggressive, and tell the person you're reporting to, by the way, I was the one triggering him or her. That's what made them react that way. That person loses a job because you went to report. You didn't talk about how you were triggering until that person reacted. That person loses a job. And because he's lost a job, where does he get a reference from, and things like that. So it just comes to affect people economically. So, when I look at things like that, for me, it's like, anyway, I will support another immigrant coming, another immigrant group. It would be nice if all immigrant groups, we can work together and see the common denominators and the common struggles we all have. Because for me, honestly, there is nothing as infuriating when you look me in the face, I'm an immigrant, and then you're saying to me, oh, you speak very well, unlike Indians and Chinese. To me, those are still immigrants. Why are we talking?
I don't feel good. I
don't compare.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
So you're trying
What's the basis for the comparison anyway?
Yeah, it's still microaggressive. Like the fact that I'm not the direct recipient doesn't. It
doesn't excuse
it. Means tomorrow now you'll be with a Chinese person and say the same thing
you're
about
smarter than
Nigerians. So when you say that to me, I feel insulted. Because I'm an immigrant and you're saying something about a fellow immigrant to me. No.
Unacceptable.
Unacceptable. Anything with immigrants, I'm all in. Even if it's one person doing something, like what you guys are doing. If it's like, can I call Marina? Can I call you? Can I call anybody else and say, come on, some of these things, what should we do about XYZ? Do you know anybody doing XYZ? In fact, right now for me, one of the things in my headspace is because I've been out of work, quote and unquote. I was doing something else, but not directly in the labor force like that. Now I'm trying to get back in, and that's why I said it's still a journey for me, because I'm trying to get back in now. Why am I seeing those hurdles again? Because it's like, you've been out, so now I have to prove myself that we have been out of your kind of labor force. It doesn't mean I wasn't doing something. And everything, and those skills are transferable. I mean,
true that.
How do you talk about sitting down, helping someone set up a clinic, purchasing, hiring,
organizing, time management,
training,
all of it,
paying, whatever, whether you have to outsource or whatever. The fact that, okay, I know that there's people's pay that has to go in, I can't do it, I need somebody else to do it. It's still all part of the work and everything. So to say that that's invalid because it was mine, I find it ludicrous, because that experience there of knowing stakeholders that you have to go and talk to, you have to go and do this one too. You are setting up a website, you have to know the good IT people.
True.
And the ones that are rubbish, you don't want to go there because they'll mess up your website. All of those things. So, I'm seeing that again. That's why I said, in the beginning, that it's still a journey, because I'm moving back again to something else. But, still in all of it, it's the resilience of even what I learned working at the clinic that I'm taking with me. So it's just a never give up mentality.
Yeah.
It's a never give up mentality. Yeah. Yeah.
So looking at all your journey so far, your experiences up until this point, assuming you were a newly landed immigrant, say today you landed Saskatoon, bam, what is one thing you would do differently?
Oh, what is one thing I would do differently? I probably would get and hit the ground running because I need to pay my bills, so I will not be picky about where I'm going to work. And let me say that with my full chest out. Because when you say hit the ground running, get anything. Look, you have to pay the bills. Does the landlord care where you're working? All he cares is at the end of the month, you pay his rent. Well, first off, when you come to sign, where's your security deposit and all whatnot? Hit that ground running. That place is temporary. For some people, it may end up being permanent, where they are rising up in that. Who used to say that working as a cashier or a night stalker or whatever in Walmart or Home Depot or flipping burgers in McDonald's and things like that. I've met someone in McDonald's where they said she had been there a long time, and after how many years they'll give her like a billboard. There's something she gets because she's been a long-term employee of McDonald's. So I don't like how people put those things down.
True. I totally agree. Like, this is just the eye opener. I've been trying to just imagine, like, really 23 years, and I thought 7 years ago was bad. Like, I can't wrap my head. I mean when you were talking about that community though, like where everybody was helping everybody. I know that the first set of Nigerians I met were on Facebook, like just saying I'm coming to Saskatoon, and I had random people reach out to me to say I'm here, when you arrive let me know. So I miss that community that we had back then. I like that we're more diverse now, like the community has grown, but in a way it's like we lost that central. That's central. We have smaller pockets of this now, but it's not as central as I mean, somebody can even get angry that you heard about their party and you didn't show up. We were allowed to crash everybody's party. If you hear about it, show up.
Now it's did I invite you to my party?
Well, anyway, this one I've been waiting to ask you this question.
Okay.
So we know that everybody who's landing in Canada these days has heard something about Canada. There are myths all over the place, like YouTubers don't help matters. What would you say you heard about Canada that you came here and realized that that's so not true? That's so different from the reality. Like, what myths did you hear about Canada that turned out to be true or turned out to be untrue?
Okay. At that time, I heard Canadians were friendly. That overall, given my travels, has been, I would say 90% true, because you have to give the 10% for the clowns. Generally, Canadians are friendly. But don't get it twisted too, because the difference between, I say, Canadians and maybe Americans, since that's where there's a lot of similarities, since anywhere we go to, last, you're North American.
Yeah.
Exactly. The difference is Americans are in your face. Canadians do mostly microaggressions. So the person is being silly but smiling, so it looks, like just very benign, until you come and you sit there and like, what did she happen?
Or maybe you're talking to someone else about it and they're like, that's
microaggression. That's and everything. So don't get it twisted. Like, Canadians are generally, like, overall, honestly, like, very friendly people, and even people that have visited from, friends that are visiting from UK have said it. So we know that to be true, but it still does not take away the fact that there is still work to be done when it comes to really accepting people for who they are, because there is a lot of microaggressions that still go on here. There are places where, yes, people are in your face racist, let's just say. So don't come here thinking that because they said Canadians are friendly, you're not going to run into that and you get shocked about that. And this is where the importance of community is, because at the very least, we're not going to make light of it, but at least we'll let you know, welcome to the club. You are number what now?
Join the line.
Join the line. Welcome to the party. Welcome to the party. You know, yeah. So yeah, I think that's definitely something else. Then of course, it was economics that brought us here. So I remember in my mind, I would come here and see, like, there would be very minimal homelessness, you know, and seeing poverty. Of course, poverty, you know, like, how do you define poverty? But if you look at, if it's based on XYZ set of indices, well, there is poverty here, there's poverty everywhere. So I think, you know, eventually coming and settling and going into different areas of Saskatoon and seeing certain things, and I'm like, oh my, what's going on here? You know, like, what is this? Like, I think for me that was a shock. That was a shock to, you know, see that. So each place has its good and its bad, but, you know, for some things, I mean, I'm just pointing out things because people may come here and think it's all land of milk and honey.
Yeah, it's all
You know,
rosy in Canada.
You just lie down, sleep. When you want the money, you just pluck
Go
it
to
in.
the tree behind your house.
That money making tree, pluck that
Pluck the
thing,
money.
and no, you have to walk your behind up.
Or employers are going to be scrambling
to hire
Yeah.
you.
It's still a long way to go, but I would say
Mhm.
that, I mean, even in the 7 years that I've been here, we have made progress.
Oh,
like
yes.
there's been
Oh, yes.
progress in the
Mhm.
right direction,
Yes.
where we're seeing some of these barriers becoming
Oh.
less and less in the
Let
way
me
of
tell
things.
you one of my stories when you were saying these barriers. My personal story.
That was exactly
like
what
we're
I was
going
going
to
to
the
ask
next
you.
question.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a personal story. So, of course, I studied law in Nigeria and, you know, coming here trying to find my footing and everything. By the way, I had a third class and I'm not ashamed. I had a third class. So I knew in my mind coming here that I was going to go back to school. But then, you know,
Sorry, I was shaking my head because it's the way we shade people and shade ourselves. We're not afraid. It's okay. If you want to flog us, come and beat
come
us.
and flog us. Do you want double koboko and which one? So I was advised to get a job as a, you know, legal assistant or something because at least I have the law background. And, you know, in good faith, people said that to me, not knowing that it's one thing for you to say, oh yeah, you know, oh, you studied law, you can go do that. But the reality for me, because of who I am, it's going to be different. So I was talking with this guy who was doing something in Saskatoon, but he had lived in Calgary. So definitely, for, you know, someone who has lived with multicultural people, to him, this is what this guy said. I still remember. He said, you studied law in Nigeria. I said, yes. He said, it's a common law country, so you should have no problems. If someone from Ukraine can be hired, Ukraine is not a common law country. Why should you have problems? I marched with confidence to a law office because I saw them looking for legal assistants. Carried myself, dressed, carried CV. I said, I see that there's a position here. I'm here to apply for the position, and I handed in my resume. Those were the days, you know, now you can go in the days, everything.
Online.
Yeah.
At that time, Workopolis was for like highly skilled people. Those were the days that if you were looking for work,
Police, that sounds so like the people
It's
still
not
use
even
that.
they do actually.
but that was the like
At
if
that
you're
time.
if you're looking for big juicy jobs, you go to Workopolis. The rest of it, like you're trying to hit the floor running, it was Star Phoenix. So newspaper, Star Phoenix.
Read the
Read
vacancies.
vacancies. Then the big jobs, you have to wait for Saturday Star Phoenix because they were the classifieds and there was like a couple pages with jobs. So yes, it wasn't the Saturday Star Phoenix, it was a weekly one that I saw. And so I went to apply. My friends had been telling me how they were throwing resumes away, or you know, you go in and you are the worker, but they will look at you and say, oh no, the bin is there, pick it up. I don't need anybody picking up my bin today. So I was like, okay, let's see how this rolls for me. I'm hoping not, but let's see how it rolls. So I dropped it with the receptionist. She collected it. You know, there is a look somebody gives you that tells you you're not welcome here. I saw that look, but I was like, okay. don't think too much, Halima. So I pretended I dropped something on the floor so that it gives me time and I'll see what her reaction was. I wish she waited for me to leave that bloody office. No! She threw that resume in the bin.
Right in your presence.
Maybe she thought I wasn't seeing her. Dropped the thing there. By the time I got to the car, you know when the tears were coming out non-stop, I was trying to stop myself from crying because how am I supposed to drive with tears? Yes. I had to sit in my car and cry it out. And I was like, okay, you'll be fine, Halima. And I came home. Then the following day, a friend of mine saw the same position and called me and said, Halima, I saw this position. I said, if it's in that office, I'm not applying. She was like, Halima, wait now. You didn't even allow me that. I said, no, this one, don't worry. Let me bury you first. Is it not that office I mentioned the name? She said, I said, no, I'm not applying. They don't want me there. She said, oh, is there something I'm missing? I now told her. I said, I went there yesterday, took my resume, they threw my resume in the bin. Even if the boss calls me today, well, first off, I'm a legal assistant, so I'm going to be dealing with these people that collected that resume and threw it away. The boss is too busy dealing with criminal or whatever.
He doesn't have direct
oversight into what is going on with me. These are the people I'm going to be dealing with
that can frustrate you.
I'm not going to go there and put myself in that kind of, jeopardizing situation. But honestly, that was the situation back then. We were only good enough back then for cleaning. I remember another funny one. I think this was before my driver's license. I was in the bus. And, this lady saw me and was like, oh, you must be a new immigrant to Canada. Well, yeah, where does your husband work? I said, oh, he works in the psych center. First thing that comes out of her mouth is he a guard? So I said, yeah, like, no.
So that's what he's good for?
That's the only thing he's good. I said, no, he's not a guard. He's a psychiatrist there. And they were like, she's like,
the shocker.
Oh, I was like, yes, there are different positions there in the psych center. He's one of the psychiatrists there. And, it was just moving along.
Not the story that she was hoping for.
Yeah.
Because that's all they thought we were good enough for. So back then, you walk into the bank, it was a sea of white faces. At least it's good to see different faces now everywhere. Whether it's the tellers, diversity, the people in the back offices, diversity.
I just feel like the diversity is supposed to enhance the quality of decisions that are made.
Yes,
because you're seeing perspectives that you would never have thought about if the person who can relate to that experience doesn't point it out. So at the end of the day, it's in the best interest of everybody.
But there's something about someone that has a shared experience with you that hits you in a way that it makes sense.
Absolutely.
This has been amazing, honestly. Not like I expected any less. Just saying. But it's been such a rich, the range of your experiences is the part that blew me away the most. Just seeing the highs, the lows, the areas where you have excelled, the areas where you have struggled. It's just amazing to hear that kind of breadth of experience.
And thank you so much for being real. Only very few people can. I hear you talking about the good, the bad, the ugly, even shading yourself.
Shade yourself
in the mix. Thank you for being so authentic and telling us your story. So if there was one last piece of advice that you would give to a newcomer, what would it be? Come
with an open mind to, one, learn. Some things, unlearn. And relearn.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't have an open mind and you come with a very closed mindset, it will make your settling very, very difficult.
Don't be afraid to learn from the people who have gone before you. No matter how educated and how learned you are, if you have not, there's always experience that comes from learned what you have seen firsthand.
Absolutely.
Humble yourself, and then really, that's just all I'm going to add. Actually, we can't add more to that. I knew shade was coming.
You said it so.
Do I feel like this is a direct attack on somebody?
Well, to whom it may concern, with your chest, take your soap. But this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
had so much fun having
me.
this.
Thanks so much for having me, for letting me share my unconventional story. But you know what? I know it'll help somebody.
It definitely
Absolutely.
will. It sure will.
Yeah.
So, Marina, what has been your key takeaway from this?
Honestly, it's just knowing that whether it was 23 years ago or 7 years ago or 5 years ago, 1 year ago, all of these stories have the same theme. The settlement process, the integration process, even though it looks differently, like when we look at our specific experiences, we may not have the same specific situations, but they're like common themes. I'm listening to all of us and I'm like, yeah, I can relate to that. Like, yes, it's not the way it was 23 years ago, but I experienced my own version. You know, so just knowing that gives me some kind of hope, knowing that I'm not alone. Like, it did start with me. Like, it happened 23 years ago. Sad that we still have to deal with some of those things 23 years later.
It's true.
But just knowing that the experiences that I have had is not peculiar to me gives me some renewed sense of hope to know that, okay, there's a way out. Like, there's a way to bounce from this. There's a way to make a positive out of this seemingly negative situation. So,
absolutely. And I love the whole idea of the importance of allyship.
True.
Halima talked a lot about the community that they had back then and how it helped her, and how she's still trying to pay it forward today with the causes she supports and trying to help people. So I think it's really important for all of us to try to build that communities in our own way and to pay it forward. One thing that also stood out for me was how she talked about speaking up when something is wrong. So you see another immigrant being mistreated, you see somebody being microaggressive to another immigrant, speak up against it. You don't necessarily have to be aggressive or violent, but call it out, call out something wrong when you see it's being done to somebody else. So this has been a very rich experience talking to you. And I hope you all enjoyed listening and watching this. Don't forget to stay tuned to our next guest. I promise you would have something to learn from it as well.
Well, thank you again for joining us on this episode. We hope you have enjoyed it as much as we did. If you did, drop a comment. Like, if you're listening, if you're watching, leave us a comment. If there's something you want us to talk about going forward, leave those suggestions in the comments from wherever it is that you're listening or watching from. Until we come your way in the next episode of the Immigrant Journey, thank you again for joining us, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Bye.